And sometimes when I catch Glenn, I'm just thinking, where is he coming from with this kind of? But I guess he's got a more libertarian bent, and that's fine if he really believes in that. And I know there are people listening to this show that they try to put me in the category of libertarian. Well, I'm not a libertarian as they would describe it. I'm a constitutional conservative, and that is, in my book, is not a libertarian. A libertarian just doesn't believe in any strong federal government. Period. In fact, the more whacked out libertarians don't recognize, personally, they don't recognize government above the county level, and that's just asinine. But I'm not here to bash Glenn Beck, but I am telling you I'm going into his time slot. So move over, Glenn, because here comes Rod. And after you finish hearing me, you'll have Rush Limbaugh, and you'll see by listening to Rush exactly how right I am. And you'll also find out that sometimes you kind of wonder where the big guys get their materials. They do kind of listen to the rest of us. Don't let them fool you. Them and their producers and the people that work for them, they listen to the rest. Because it's awfully interesting how sometimes a story that isn't very big gets picked up by one of the big guys. And the only way that they're really going to be paying attention to it is if they hear us. Now, you guys are going to, what they might call the second tier people. So, you're going to hear a lot of that. Guarantee you. A lot of stuff is going that I'm going to talk about. Naturally, some of the bigger stuff is going, obviously, the rest of the big guys like Rush and Hannity and Levin and all the others are going to pick up on. But pay attention to some of the stuff that isn't so big. You're going to start hearing them talk about it after I do. I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm just saying that is what I have observed in the past when I was on the air before all of them in the morning. And I'm sure that certain thing will continue. Because a lot of times, which was really interesting, is when I went to an evening show, you didn't hear the big guys talk about some of the things that I talked about later. And they were already in the ethosphere, if you will, for news. It's already out there. They had plenty of time to talk about it before I did. And they didn't. And then on a number of occasions, I've noticed, a day or two later, talked about it. Just saying, I'm on the leading edge here. Guys need to be paying attention here. I got the stuff that the big guys don't want to talk to you about, or, we'll talk to you about later, maybe. But, yeah, I know that, I hope everybody had a good weekend. Yeah, so don't forget it, 9 a.m. to noon, starting in January 2016. Is live, and I know some of the stations that I'm already broadcasting on are going to carry all 3 hours. I know a couple of stations are switching the time, so you'll need to pay attention to your station. I know some of the stations will be carrying me live, and some will not. But if you have a favorite network or station that you listen to, my suggestion is that you contact them, email them or call them, what have you. And suggest that you'd like to hear me live on their network, 9 a.m. to noon. I'm sure if they get enough emails or calls, they'll make the accommodation. It's always the listener that helps determine what's going to be on a network or a station. And that would be you. But this, in no small way, is all me doing this. This is obviously because of you, the listener. We got some good news over the weekend about numbers from October. And let me tell you, they have gone through the roof. The number of people tuning into this program. They don't call it Nielsen ratings anymore, but, the thing that everybody's familiar with, Nielsen-like ratings for this program. You want to talk about, after I heard the numbers, you want to talk about a shock and a surprise in a tremendously good way. I mean, this program is taking off. And that's all due to all of you out there listening, sharing this with your family, friends, and neighbors and coworkers, and going and following me on places like Twitter and Facebook and Google Plus, and even I've noticed a lot. There's an uptick in sharing or repinning over on Pinterest. A lot of good stuff over there on Pinterest. So that's because of all you people who are listening and following and paying attention. I thank you very much for that. Now, I hope you had a wonderful weekend. It was, Halloween, of course, and I know that the Halloween thing has changed over the years. I mean, now we've got things like trunk or treat. Now, I'm sorry. I get it. That is the, I understand that some community leaders and some parents mean well. They're trying to protect their kids, but that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. Hey, kids, get into your politically correct costume so I can take you to the local parking lot where people will be there with their cars and their trunks open to hand out. Now, I don't know what that says about the people who are willing to get into their car with bags full of candy and drive to a parking lot so they can pass out that candy from their trunk to kids. Now, if I remember correctly, that's the kind of stuff that we learned when I was little about the stranger danger. Aren't you sending a mixed message to your kid? Hey, if you're in a costume or the adult is in a costume and it's a stranger at their car, it's quite a right for you to go up to them and get candy from them. Now, aren't we telling kids, well, don't accept anything from strangers in a car? Because they'll snatch you up and kidnap you. That's what we tell our, and then we confuse them by saying, oh yeah, at night even. Not just in the light of day, but in the dark of night, we're going to a parking lot so you can see all these wonderful strangers, little Timmy and Sally, with candy being passed out from the trunk of their vehicle. Now, I know some people think that, because all the parents are there and we're paying attention, and I think you're sending a mixed message. I think it's stupid. And I think in the long run, this isn't going to last because people are going to find out that there are problems and issues with it, and you're confusing the hell out of your kids, especially the younger ones. Oh, sure, the 10-year-old and the 12-year-old, they get the difference. But you want to try to explain that to a 4, 5, or 6, or 7-year-old, you're going to confuse the hell out of them. I don't support it. I just don't. I know that they've done trunk or treats around here in New Hampshire. I'm just not for it at all. I mean, look, why don't you just take away childhood, period? You're afraid of everything. If your parents are going to be afraid of everything, you just take away childhood. Keep your kid locked indoors until they turn 18. I mean, look, the world is a scary place. And here's a news flash. It always has been. Kids have always been kidnapped. Kids have always, even the 30s and 40s and 50s, kids were kidnapped. Kids were molested. Kids were killed, murdered. Now, I'm not trying to frighten you any, but what I'm saying is that this has always happened. The only difference is now that our population is so much bigger, so there's more people. And our news seems to think that all of this type of drama stuff is news, and they will exploit it and play it over and over again. Not to mention because we have the internet today, and we didn't have it 20 and 30 years ago. You think you're seeing, this stuff all the time, and what you're seeing actually is the repeat of the same stories over and over again, but you're seeing them everywhere. Instead of just the 3 or 4 networks, now you've not only got the 3 or 4 networks, but you've got the multiverse of internet networks that's also bleeding over into cable TV, because 20 or 30 years ago we didn't have as many cable channels as we have today. There weren't as many news cable channels, and they all have to fill their airtime. So what do? They take all the stuff that they can possibly think that they can sensationalize, and they play it over and over again all day long. And you, on the other hand, think that it's something different and new every time you hear it, but it's really the same story, just repurposed. I mean, it's kind of, if you look at, was it Daily Mail? Daily Mail UK and a couple of other tabloid-esque type of news outlets online. There was a time when all we were hearing about is students, high school students, being molested, if you will, by their male and female teachers, and it was always, the big story was always the male, until there was a couple of big cases where females actually got, female teachers got impregnated by their high school teenage lovers. The real interesting thing is that they made it sound like this was something new. But as I investigated it, I found that this was a story that wasn't new. And this has been going on for a long, long time. And that's when I did my investigation, I also found out that boys were, up to, depending on the study that you're looking at, up to 7 times more likely to be sexually abused than girls. Because, in many cases, boys are at risk for male and female attackers. Where girls, on the other hand, tend to, I know it just sounds kind of stupid to say only, but tend to only be attacked by male perpetrators. It's kind of rare for a gay woman to attack or to entice a teenage girl, an underage. But hey, the straight women seem to go for the boys all right, though. A lot of them. So what are you going to do? Are you going to keep your teenager home now because you're afraid that one of the teachers, be they male or female, is going to make sexual advances towards your kid? Look, the world has always been a dangerous place. I find it interesting that some parents, when their child is not in any danger of such an attack, will take great strides and to try to remove their child from the dangerous quote unquote school. But the kid isn't learning anything, and or he's being indoctrinated by the left for to believe in all this global warming crap. And parents are okay. You know what? No, I can't take my kid out for that. No, can't do it. Don't have time or the money to do that. No. Little John has got to fend for himself and actually try to learn something. Just find it interesting what parents will allow and not allow. What I find it interesting on what types of things will scare them. Very interesting. But yeah, the kids were. I don't think I see as many kids going out trick or treating anymore. And again, it's due to parents trying to protect. Well, it's the same thing as we don't keep scoring soccer. Kids, they don't understand it. When every time you ask the parents, what's the score? The parents and the coaches say, well, we don't keep score. We don't know. Ask the kid. Oh, it's 5-3. We're winning. Kids keep score. See, when you don't think a kid is paying attention to stuff, that's when you better start paying attention, because the kid is paying attention. Yeah, kids are not as stupid nor as innocent as we like to think that they are. They never have been. It's always been a pipe dream. That's only in fairy tales and Disney programs and Disney movies. reality always has been that kids are a lot smarter and a lot more open-minded than parents and adults give them